Hi everyone, my name is Apuraj Garakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abhay.
I command time to stand still!
Master the timeline.
This is MC of our story, Logan McLean, the oldest son of a noble family that's basically broke beyond repair. The maids in the house were absolutely terrified of him, and honestly, they had good reason. Just look at the guy's face. Dude looks straight up demon on Viagra. So one day, Logan decided to visit his father at the castle, but the soldiers straight up blocked him at the gate. No entry. Their excuse was brutal. They said he wasn't worthy. According to them, he was nothing more than the son of the Baron's former wife. Around the castle, people either feared Logan or straight up hated him because until that point, he really had been arrogant and completely despicable. But things were about to flip because Logan wasn't the same person they thought they knew anymore. The guard's attitude irritated him badly, so Logan reached into his outfit, pulled out a pair of gloves, and tossed them directly into the guard's face, full public humiliation. A move like that meant only one thing: the insult would be paid for with a duel. Logan didn't stop there either. He insulted the guard, saying the real failure here was him, calling him a lifelong mediocre soldier. Domian completely lost it. Overcome with rage and emotion, he accepted the duel against the prince. They headed straight to the dueling arena, agreeing to use wooden swords. But here's the thing, knights can use aura. Even with a wooden sword, a strong knight could easily kill a weak warrior. Everyone watching genuinely feared for the prince's life. To them, Logan was obviously the total loser. Domian attacked with everything he had, pouring aura into his strike, but Logan dodged with insanely precise timing, slipping past the attack and countering right over Domian's sword. The impact was so strong that it knocked the weapon straight out of the guard's hand. He literally couldn't keep hold of it. The crowd froze in shock. Whispers, how did Logan, the so-called loser, know how to fight like that? Logan wasn't satisfied. He told Domian he could have a second chance if he wanted. But the soldier was still on the ground, staring at his own hand. He couldn't deny it, the blow had been incredibly heavy. Logan didn't wait for an answer. He stepped in and landed more strikes with the wooden sword. Pure payback for what happened earlier. By the end of it, the entire fight left the castle soldiers shaken to their core. Prince Logan wasn't the weakling he used to be. And the reason behind that changed something none of them could possibly know. The truth is, in the future, when Logan was 40 years old, he was nothing more than a common soldier. His noble family had already been completely destroyed by then. The other soldiers constantly mocked him, especially because back when Logan was younger, he had lost a duel to his own younger brother. They never understood how someone like him even ended up as a soldier after his entire family was wiped out. Back then, the kingdom had been betrayed and enemy forces invaded. Every soldier fought bravely and Logan fought too, but none of it mattered. The kingdom still lost, and in the end they were all eliminated. That day, Logan died on the battlefield. As his life faded, regret crushed him. He regretted countless things, especially how horrible of a person he had been. More than anything, he wanted to ask his father for forgiveness. Then, suddenly, Logan woke up in his room, completely shaken. He had been injured after taking a blow to the head during the duel against his younger brother. The realization hit him hard. The protagonist couldn't believe it. Was everything he experienced just a nightmare? No, definitely not. He remembered everything too clearly. Logan looked out the window and saw his family's castle, the same place he lived in when he was young. Soon after, his younger brother came to visit him in his room, clearly terrified of how Logan might treat him. The boy was trembling with fear, and it made sense. Logan had always been awful to everyone, especially to him. Logan remembered the last time he treated his brother like absolute garbage, and that moment was exactly why Renana never tried to get close to him again. Logan's head throbbed as memories flooded in. Renana genuinely cared about his brother, but the servants knew Logan's reputation all too well. Rick, the butler, told the young master Renanan to leave the room, but for the first time ever, Logan did scream. Instead, he spoke gently and told Renanan to come closer. The boy froze in shock. So did the butler, Rick, thinking young Master Logan was acting strangely today. Logan wanted to praise Renanan's strength, but the words wouldn't come out. He knew words alone weren't enough after treating him like trash for so long. Then Logan hugged his brother for the very first time. He asked for forgiveness for everything he had done. He admitted that he had been a terrible brother, and that Rome was truly amazing. No one in the room could hold back their tears at that moment. After talking for a while, Renanan finally left Logan alone. That protagonist looked out the window again and knew for sure this wasn't a dream. He had gone back in time, and this time, he was going to do things differently. This time, he would save his family. A maid accidentally walked into the room and immediately apologized. Rick rushed in after her and apologized too on her behalf, explaining that Mary hadn't done it on purpose. The whole situation was irritating. Logan suddenly realized how ridiculous it was that everyone acted this terrified of him, thinking, just how miserable had he been back then. Logan told them it was nothing and asked them to bring him some paper and pens. Rick and Mary instantly panicked, wondering if the young master was actually going to work now. When they brought what he asked for, Logan thanked them. Rick was stunned to hear that his master really just said, "Thank you." Now the servants felt like they were dreaming. Once again, Logan realized what a piece of trash he used to be. He asked to be left alone so he could work. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Appy grow naturally. But before starting, he remembered something important. The war against the Empire would happen in 10 years. That war would be what destroyed his family, because they would be weak and drowning in debt. His goal now was clear. He wasn't just going to change who he used to be. He was going to change his family's fate. On top of that, an internal war in his region, set to happen just 1 year from now, was the very first event that began shattering his territory's reputation. After working for a while and filling pages non-stop, Logan finally decided it was time to go see his father. As he walked through the estate, he noticed the staff turning their faces away from him, avoiding eye contact like it was instinct. They genuinely believed Logan could end their lives on a whim, and that fear was burned into them. Along the way, a maid carrying freshly cleaned clothes didn't notice him approaching, and tripped, crashing to the ground. The girl froze completely. In her mind, this was it. Her life was over, but that wasn't what happened. Logan reached out with a gentle hand and helped her back up. For a moment, it felt like some kind of miracle. Then the girl looked at his face. That terrifying face she recognized all too well. Logan wasn't known for kindness. She immediately begged for her life and ran away without daring to look back. Watching her flee, Logan realized something important. Simply acting different wasn't going to fix things overnight. After all, he'd spent years smiling like a damn murderer. When Logan reached his father's office and announced himself, his expression turned cold again. It had been more than 20 years since he'd last seen his father. As expected, the atmosphere inside was icy. The patriarch of House McLean, Patrick McLean, had no reason to show respect to his eldest son. Logan explained why he was there. He asked for permission to undergo isolated training on the family's mountain property. The protagonist still carried the memories of his past life and already knew how night training worked, but his current body was useless, lazy, and completely untrained. On top of that, he needed money to change his family situation, and becoming stronger would help with that too. He had to be ready because in 3 months, that girl would arrive. Patrick immediately questioned him, asking if Logan was trying to run away after losing to Ronan. Logan denied it. He'd admitted that he was weak and that he had wasted his life until now. He wanted to get better, but Patrick had heard these words before. He refused the request, saying Logan's problem wasn't just a lack of effort. Logan had expected that answer. Logan admitted that his behavior had been his biggest flaw and said he was determined to change it. His father didn't believe him anymore and ordered him to leave. The request was denied. This was the consequence of everything Logan had done. Still, Logan didn't back down. He told his father that he had been foolish and immature until now, and that this training would be his first step toward real change. Even the most bitter father couldn't completely abandon his child. Patrick finally relented and said this would be Logan's last chance. Before letting him go, he asked if Logan really thought 3 months was enough to catch up to Ronan. Logan answered firmly that the training wasn't about defeating Ronan. It was about defeating himself. When Logan left the room, Patrick felt something he hadn't felt toward his son in a very long time. It's respect. And Logan noticed it. Even though his father said nothing out, loud, Logan knew that changing himself was worth it. Logan went to the mountains and stayed there for 3 full months. His goal wasn't just to train his body, but to reach something greater. True, warriors could defeat even dragons by using the life force stored within their cores. Day after day, Logan trained himself to absolute exhaustion. By the end of those 3 months, he managed to form his core, something he had only accomplished at 40 years old in his previous life. With it, he could push his body beyond its breaking point. On the final day of training, Logan stood before a massive tree and prepared his strongest move. He focused all his aura, channeling it into his sword and muscles. The strike was powerful enough to slice through space itself before cutting the target clean in half. This was the power he had gained at the end of his previous life, and now he could use it at this young age. Even so, the strain on his weak body was enormous. This was a technique meant only as a last resort. Now it was time to go home and start making real changes. The first change was obvious. His clothes, he smelled like a sewer. When Logan returned home and went to show his progress to his father, the guard Damien stopped him at the entrance, saying, only those with direct McLean blood were allowed to pass without authorization. That was the moment Logan realized his authority within the family was slipping away. Right then and there, Logan challenged Damien to a duel. He shocked every guard in the castle by effortlessly defeating a trained soldier. This was the result of his training and combat experience, and it ensured no other guards would try the same stunt. Later, inside his father's office, Logan and Patrick spoke again. Patrick admitted that what he had seen was impressive, acknowledged Logan's awakening, and asked what had happened during his training. Logan realized his father had been watching, something he never expected. He'd explained that he had simply abandoned his greed and let everything go. As he trained with that mindset, he'd eventually felt a force filling him from within. Logan reflected that even if it sounded unbelievable, this insight came from his past life. Only after giving up on avenging his family had he become a force user back then, awakening only after 40. Patrick was impressed that such a simple realization had led to such change and said Logan had truly transformed. However, he was still furious. After achieving such a breakthrough, the first thing Logan did was attack a knight. Logan argued that the man deserved it and asked whether his father had heard the full story from the soldiers. Patrick said he had, but still believed those measures weren't necessary. They were necessary, Logan insisted, surprising his father. The knight had tried to deceive his lord's blood and make a fool of him. Letting that slide would poison the family's discipline. Logan then reflected on hierarchy, the foundation that keeps any organization functioning. Once hierarchy is shaken, the organization weakens over time, something he had learned during 10 years as a mercenary. When dealing with armed men, order must be established in a single decisive move. What happened that day would serve as a warning to the other knights. Patrick admitted Damien was largely at fault for failing his duty and trying to trick Logan. Still, he felt Logan's actions were risky and said it was better to hold back in the future. Logan was shocked by how easily his father forgave him, especially compared to his previous life. Seeing Logan's expression, Patrick even joked and asked if he wanted a punishment. Logan replied that he was good. Patrick ended the conversation by saying he still didn't approve of what Logan had done and warned him never to act like that again without permission, especially. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Since he hadn't officially received his rank yet, Logan respectfully said he would remember that. Soon after that, Logan's father announced that his fiancée, Riina, would be visiting soon. At first glance, Logan looked surprised by the news, but it wasn't surprise at all. It was pure excitement. The day to get the cash was finally approaching. Right on cue, Princess Riina Wolves was formally introduced. Every lady present fell silent, completely stunned by her beauty, and every guard instantly felt jealous of Logan. When Riina stepped forward, she greeted Lord McLean gracefully, saying it had been far too long and politely asking about his well-being. Patrick McLean, momentarily stunned by her appearance, commented on how she had grown into a beautiful woman since the last time he saw her. Rick watched from a distance as well, clearly impressed by how much she had matured, but then he glanced at Master Logan, who didn't look impressed in the slightest. Rihanna then said she had a letter entrusted to her by her father, the Count, and began reading it aloud. The letter was addressed to Baron Patrick McLean, and it was painfully boring. Over the next 30 minutes, even the guards struggled to stay awake, but the ending snapped everyone back to reality. The final request stated that due to unavoidable circumstances, the arranged marriage between Rihanna and Logan was to be cancelled. After hearing the letter, Logan quickly understood the message behind it. The Wolf's clan had expected Patrick McLean to become a powerful aura user, but instead he had remained a high-ranking knight for over 20 years, and to make matters worse, Logan himself was considered a complete loser. Joining the Wolf clan with the M-Clanes simply made no sense anymore, so they chose to go their separate ways. Patrick was furious. Breaking off the marriage for such vague reasons was nothing but an insult. He understood immediately that the Wolves were trying to humiliate House McLean. Rihanna denied that, saying she had personally asked to be the messenger because she feared Patrick would misunderstand their intentions. She wanted to clear things up face to face. She spoke about her vivid memories of spending a year at the M-Plains residence as a child. She recalled the peaceful days, the beautiful surroundings, and the good moments she shared with Logan. Those memories meant a lot to her, and she didn't want to let them go. But she was bound to her family's will and had no choice but to obey her superiors. The only thing she could do was come in person and apologize to Logan and Patrick. Everyone was moved, murmuring that her heart was as beautiful as her face. Everyone except Logan, his stepmother Mary, and Daddy Patrick. Mary bluntly asked Rihanna what the real reason behind the breakup was. She demanded to know what these so-called unavoidable circumstances actually were. Logan thought about his stepmother, Ronyan's biological mother, and how she had always treated him as an enemy because of the succession issue. He hadn't expected her to interfere, but family honor was clearly a different matter. Rihanna apologized again and avoided the question, claiming she didn't know the real reason. She explained that since she was only meant to marry into another family, her father never discussed important matters with her. Mary grew furious and concluded that this explained why Rihanna had come to announce the breakup without any clear justification. Rihanna, visibly terrified, her white dress now stained with her makeup melted by sweat, looked up at the M-Clanes and announced that to compensate for the inconvenience, the Wolf clan was willing to pay 3 million gold pieces. McLean's financial manager, Dwayne Filsder, nearly had a heart attack on the spot. Logan, on the other hand, was thrilled. He thought the money was finally his, but no chance. Patrick nearly exploded with rage, demanding to know how she dared to propose something like that. A knight from the Wolf house immediately stepped in front of Rihanna, protecting her, and begged Patrick to calm down. Patrick asked whether he was a high-ranking knight like himself, admitting that it was impressive for someone so young to reach that level. He continued, saying that perhaps injuring the rising star of the Wolf's family would be fair compensation for the dishonor inflicted on the McLeans. The knight replied that his master, Chiron Wolves, regarded Lord McLean as an honorable man and would never target the young princess, or anyone younger. Rihanna then spoke up, saying she also did not wish to buy honor with money. She asked them to accept the gold as a sincere gesture to preserve the friendship between the two families. Patrick clenched his teeth. If he pushed further, he would lose his own honor. He realized this was exactly why Karen had sent these young people. Patrick stated that a visitor was still a visitor even if they brought bad luck, and that House McLean would never harm its guests. However, he firmly refused the Wolves clan's one-sided offer. House McLean asked for only one thing. Princess Rihanna Wolf was to personally and sincerely apologize to Logan. Patrick made it clear that he would accept no other compensation. At that moment, Logan stepped in. As the person directly involved, he said he had a request. Internally, Logan knew they needed to accept the money. Letting them off with words alone was insane. 3 million gold was the entire annual budget of House McLean. Half of their current funds came from his stepmother's family, and if that support vanished, they would go bankrupt instantly. And for what? Honor. To Logan, it felt like everyone had lost their minds. Logan told his father he wanted to accept the Wolves' terms. Patrick became furious again, asking if Logan intended to make him go back on his word. Logan thought about the pressure his father carried. Even without Aura, Patrick was still a high-ranking knight, but that meant nothing compared to others in the kingdom. If he couldn't handle this, he would never move forward. Patrick insisted House McLean wasn't poor enough to sell its honor for money. Logan sighed deeply and replied that they were exactly that poor. He explained that House McLean already owed the bank 3 million gold pieces. The annual interest alone was 150,000 gold. Without Kyo's money, they would have gone bankrupt long ago. They were the kingdom's biggest family of beggars. On top of that, they owed over 2 million gold to the kingdom they served. Settling this matter with just an apology would only spread rumors that they had bowed to the wolves. Rena tried to intervene, claiming the Wolves clan wasn't irrational and respected House McLean's honor. Logan immediately asked whether she truly found it rational to unilaterally break off the engagement. A memory from Logan's past life surfaced. Back then, he had believed Rena was genuinely saddened by their separation, but that belief shattered after one incident. He remembered being alone with her in a bedroom. Rena thanked him for coming and said that even if things ended that day, she wanted to create one last memory together. Logan, believing his life as a noble was over, asked her to run away with him. That night, that was when she threw a knife at his face, forcing him to draw his sword to defend himself. Rena tore her own clothes and accused him of thinking someone like him deserved her. She mocked him, told him to learn his place, and asked why he even carried a sword after losing to a child. Outside, a thunderstorm raged as she screamed, accusing Logan of trying to assault her. With his sword already drawn, the lie was easy to believe. Logan remembered how he had already been blamed for countless things, to the point where not even his family trusted him. In the end, House McLean had been forced to apologize to the wolves and pay heavy compensation. Because of Rena, Logan had never been able to trust women again. He thought of her as a street bitch, and vowed that this time she wouldn't get away with it. After recalling all this, Logan reconsidered his plan. He had intended to slowly rebuild his reputation by showing everyone he had changed, but the fight with Damien made him realize something crucial. Soldiers ignored disrespect toward him, and rumors about his loss to his brother had spread while he was gone. You couldn't transform the family by winning over people like them. With only 9 months left until the regional war. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Reputation no longer mattered, saving his family did. Logan swallowed his pride and told Rena he would accept the Wolves clan's compensation, even if it meant defying his own family. Rena was speechless. Patrick exploded with anger, demanding to know how Logan dared oppose his will. Logan replied calmly that he wasn't satisfied with empty apologies, leaving his father stunned. Words carried away by the wind had no value, and honor built on them was just as light. Rena tried to salvage the situation, saying the Wolf clan wished to obey the Baron's decision, and asked Patrick what he chose. Logan saw through her act, realizing she was trying to protect her father's reputation, and was likely terrified of paying 3 million gold. Patrick looked down at Rena and declared that as the head of House McLean, he would accept only a sincere apology. However, he would leave it to Logan to decide whether the apology was sincere. Mary was furious. Patrick warned Logan to think carefully, reminding him that accepting money for dishonor would open the door for honor to be traded again in the future. Logan didn't hesitate. As the one directly involved in the broken engagement, he accepted the compensation offered by the Wolves clan. The decision shocked Mary and visibly upset Rena. Patrick, disappointed, said he thought Logan had improved, but instead he had changed for the worse. He blamed himself for failing to teach him the true value of honor. Logan said nothing out loud, but in his mind, he knew everything he was doing was for the sake of his family. Back in his room, after receiving the handsome compensation from Rena Wolves, Logan was interrupted by a knock on the door. Assuming it was Rick, he casually told whoever it was to come in. Instead, Dwayne, the family's financial advisor, stepped inside. Seeing him there immediately made Logan wonder what this man was plotting. Inside Dwayne's mind, a long train of thoughts unfolded. As House McLean's financial advisor, he had been forced to manage the entire estate with a budget that kept shrinking year after year. On one side were soldiers constantly demanding better weapons, and on the other were servants struggling to secure enough supplies to survive the winter. To fill the financial gaps, Dwayne spent most of his days begging the patriarchs for funds. At times, he genuinely questioned whether he was a financial advisor or just the king of beggars. He often thought that if this wasn't his hometown, he would have resigned long ago. But now, things were finally different. With the 3 million gold, he could finally breathe easy for at least a few years. The only obstacle he saw standing in his way was that idiot. In his mind, Logan would surely have to split the 3 million with him. Dwayne put on a polite smile and told Logan he had only come by to greet him after the impressive showing he made the day before. The way Logan defended himself and refused to yield to unfair external pressure proved he was an incredible apprentice, worthy of becoming the heir of House McLean. As Dwayne praised him, he imagined his flattery had deeply touched Logan. After all, the boy had never been praised before, having only ever caused trouble. Taking his money should be easy. But Logan wasn't impressed in the slightest. Dwayne continued, saying that in times like these, 3 million gold was like rain falling in the middle of a desert. Logan's clever handling of the situation had allowed the family to breathe again. Logan remained completely stone-faced and replied that he didn't see why the family would feel relieved since the money belonged to him. Hearing that, Dwayne felt all hope drain out of him. He believed Logan intended to keep every coin for himself, but he forced himself to stay calm. After 20 years as the McLean family's financial advisor, swallowing his pride had become second nature. This situation was no different. Suddenly, he began to cry. That reaction caught Logan off guard. He asked if the family's situation was really that bad. Dwayne explained that Logan might not know this, but House McLean already owed 3 million gold to Cooper Bank. He tried to continue, saying the interest alone amounted to 150,000 gold per year. But Logan interrupted him and finished the sentence himself. Dwayne stared at him in shock and asked if he already knew. Logan replied that the interest shouldn't be a problem. After all, it was harvest season and the income from the harvest should cover it. Dwayne desperately tried to explain that simply running the barony cost an enormous amount of money, and that the family was always operating on an extremely tight budget. He suggested that even a little help could change things, but Logan cut him off again, making it clear he didn't want to hear it. Confused, Dwayne asked why Logan wouldn't help, especially since he had opposed the Baron earlier for the sake of the family. Logan agreed with him. He said he would use the money for the family's benefit, but not to cover the Baron's immediate expenses. Instead, he needed to prepare for the future. Dwayne grew furious inside, thinking Logan had no idea what he was talking about and should just hand over the money immediately. Logan then calmly asked whether paying off the family's debts would truly change anything. Dwayne argued that a larger budget would make managing the estate easier for at least a few years. Logan pressed further, asking what would happen after that. Even if things improved temporarily, they would eventually fall back into debt because House McLean had no special products to sell. It was a vicious cycle and Logan intended to break it with a plan of his own. For that plan, he needed the money. Dwayne was completely stunned. He wondered if this was really the same young master he knew. He had always thought Logan was a careless kid who had no interest in family affairs. Logan then said he had a favor to ask. If Dwayne helped him, Logan might even share a portion of the money to help cover some family expenses. Dwayne immediately asked what he needed. Logan answered simply, he needed to gather mercenaries. Later, Logan spoke with Rick. It looked like he was preparing to leave again, and Rick immediately demanded to know where the hell he was going. It hadn't even been long since Logan returned from his isolated training. Logan replied that he was leaving to make money. Rick pointed out that Logan already had a substantial amount, but Logan insisted it wasn't enough. He explained that the Patriarch would never allow him to leave now, especially with the tension inside the castle, but Logan had no intention of asking for permission. He planned to slip out quietly. Rick was shocked, but Logan didn't care. He knew that if he couldn't change his reputation now, it would never change. That meant gathering power from outside the family. Luckily, he knew exactly what was happening beyond the estate, just like in his past life. When he had been kicked out of the family, he already knew his first step was to find a certain individual. Rick tried to reason with him, saying he wasn't thinking straight, and that becoming a fugitive at this point would only make things worse. Logan grew irritated by Rick's persistence. Rick asked what Logan planned to do if he simply ran away, and even said that if Logan really intended to leave, he might as well trample all over him first. Logan was already close to doing just that, given how little Rick seemed to care. Logan reassured him, saying everything would be fine. He would leave a letter for his father so that no one would blame Rick. Rick asked what he planned to write, but Logan only smiled in response. Rick finally let out a sigh of relief. After Logan disappeared, Rick delivered the letter to the Patriarch, who looked like he was ready to turn D-Day into a child's game. The letter began with a long formal greeting and explained that, heartbroken over the broken engagement, I had decided to leave for some fresh air, but would return soon. Signed by Logan McClain. After that, Rick could only cry, praying for the young master's safe return. A history of the McClain family is then laid out, revealing that just 200 years ago, the family didn't hold the position it does today. Back then, their territory stretched into neighboring counties, and they were respected as the rulers of the southwest region of the Kingdom of Grandia. However, by the time of the current Lord, Patrick McClain, the incompetence of the last 3 generations had dragged the family down. Their title was downgraded, and their territory shrank dramatically. The massive grain depot, once known as the McClain Plains, was handed over to a powerful vessel, and the fertile lands were split apart and distributed elsewhere. The place the McClains were left with felt like exile, dry, barren land near the southern mountains, as if they had been kicked out entirely. From that moment on, financial hardship became inevitable. There were no notable regional products, and unlike other mountainous territories, there were no copper mines either. Logan reflected that even if they somehow won the upcoming regional war, they would still have to keep begging Kiros for support. To break this endless cycle, he needed a massive amount of money, far more than the 3 million gold he currently had. He knew there was someone who could help him do. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Apai. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.